All right, Bella? Hi guys, welcome to another Speak Up Monday here, Tropical Nomad. As you know, every Monday 7 p.m. onwards, right? And Speak Up Monday, in case it might be your first time watching. So Speak Up Monday is a Q&A. It's a question between two friends, right? And it's about finding out what makes people tick. It's about finding out what drives people, maybe a bit of their history that you may or may not know. And it's about, most importantly, creating an opportunity for people to be inspired, perhaps, or to be reminded, perhaps, or even to be motivated to do things that maybe they feel like, I meant to do this a while ago, but haven't done it yet for some reason, or it's something new that I was looking for, and it just dropped in through listening to two guys having a chat, right? So every Monday here is 7 o'clock. Tropical Nomad. Now the other thing is that if you feel after watching this, or you may even be moved right now or inspired to think, I would love to be on Speak Up Monday, right? Then feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Speak Up Monday. It all comes to me anyway, one way or the other. Feel free to reach out to me, and more than happy to have a chat and get the whole thing started and get you on, and you can be in the place of Kamau today. All right, so that's the housekeeping things kind of taken care of. So look, in a second, I'm going to introduce our guest, and I guess the last thing I would say is that, listen with an open mind. For the next hour or so, maybe there's going to be things that perhaps you haven't thought this way before, or they're things which, again, you might be reminded of, right? So for the next hour or so, just let it wash over you, see what resonates with you. Maybe there'll be some insights there for you, and just to pay attention to what comes up. And the last thing which I'll say, and I promise you before we get started, is it's a bit like a clock, right? So imagine 12 to 12. So from 12 to 2 are the things that we know, our name, where we're from, how to get home, where to go, right? Stuff that we know. From 2 to 4, it's like, these are things that I know that I don't know, right? So maybe I'm not good at trigonometry. Maybe I'm not great with people, or I believe that I'm not, right? So things that we know that we're not great at. And then 4 to 12 is like this whole zone of, what I don't know that I don't even know. And that's the beauty of something like this, because it can trigger something that maybe was below or beneath your level of waking consciousness, and it's something that gets triggered back there over the next day or two or the next week or so. So let that wash over you, see what comes up, try it on for size, listen with an open mind. And without saying any more than that, I'd like to just to say how I'm really looking forward to having a chat to Kamau over here. He's someone who I've seen around in Bali on the island for like a while. Someone whose energy I'm particularly drawn to, and I just get a real, like a deep sense of antiquity from you. That's what I get, my brother. And so to be able to get to know you and have other people looking in is a gift, and I respect you beyond words, and I'm really looking forward just to getting a bit beneath the bonnet of what makes you tick, my brother.
Let's go, man.
Yeah, man. So look, without further ado, let's start this off. So for everybody watching, including me, maybe just a little bit about, where you're from, your background, and what life was like growing up for you.
Peace, everybody.
Studio audience. We have a studio audience. You can come and watch this live, people. We're live.
Real class. There's no sign back there. My name is Kamau. Full name Kamau Abayomi. Born and raised San Francisco, California. When I was a teenager, moved to Oakland, California, which is just right across the bridge from San Francisco. And I grew up pretty much in the arts. My mother was a drama teacher, a high school drama teacher, as well as a coach, an acting coach for a lot of people in the neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood called Fillmore in San Francisco, black neighborhood. And my pops, though it wasn't his profession, it was his hobby and his love, which was photography. So they were socialites and real active in the community, in the scene, artistically. And so, you know, particularly at that time when in the late 70s and black consciousness was really big, and there would be different theater productions that would happen in the United States. Whenever they would come to San Francisco, then like my mother would be knowing actors and involved, and so there'd be like after parties at my house. So, you know, I was a little youngin' running between legs, you know, adults like, hey, take a little sip of wine, take a little sip of wine, you know, dancing to Michael Jackson and shit. So I grew up in that type of, you know, young environment, as well as it being, it's not like people think San Francisco, and a lot of people didn't go to San Francisco until like relatively recently, like post-Google. And, you know, the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s San Francisco was not 2000 post-Google San Francisco. It was a lot more grit back then. And so, you know, the effects of that era just being influenced by a variety of things that was happening in the United States, particularly in regards to when AIDS was coming in, when crack was coming in, and how that was hitting communities, and then communities coming together via arts. Like, so I would be able to witness that because, you know, my mother being a teacher, you know, I was on her hip a lot, just witnessing her in that role as a community teacher. And same with my pops. My pops is one of those dudes who was just like cool with everybody, like literally cool with, you can go anywhere in the city and he would just be like, hey, what's up, what's up? And he made his transition on Valentine's Day 2003. And it was interesting because when I was cleaning out his spot, you know, I found a notepad, and in his notepad had like the basic greetings in like 13 different languages. Like, he knew how to say hello, how you doing, good afternoon, thank you, in like 13 different languages. And that's like all he knew. He couldn't speak it, but just basic greetings in these different languages. And it just tripped me out. And it, like, when I saw that, I was just like, it made a whole lot of sense because his personality was like really just like, you know, what's up? It's just love, you know, and the family dude. So, and then my older brother also was just into, you know, martial arts, and not necessarily the artist, but, you know, really like just head smart and graffiti artist. He was deep into that. So, you know, just imitating my older brother, got into skateboarding, you know, an artist, creative. That's kind of like my young foundation life.
Got it. You know, one thing that is like a recurring theme that pops up every week somehow is this thing about, you know, between 0 and 7, we're in this theta brainwave state, very highly impressionable, like a sponge, imitating the people around us, the caregivers, our parents, whoever they might be. And just hearing that already gives me an insight into you that I never had before. You know, like realizing that you were surrounded by the arts, right? You were surrounded by people who were out there on the cusp, who were getting along with people, who were connecting with people, who were uplifting people, right? Who were showing the way already, because I see you as a way of light, right? To me, you're a massive light worker, but more about that later on. But I see those formative years and influences that possibly allowed you to become and step into the incredible human being that I see before me today. And like, so on that note, like, was there anything that happened to you that shocked you, that was what you might call a bad experience that you remember that you can talk about?
Well, interestingly enough, like a few years ago, I came into some awareness via my cousin about a situation that happened in my family, like really early when I was like 6 months old, that I never really knew the details. I knew what took place, but I didn't know the details about. So when I was about 6 months old, or when I was 6 months old, my aunt, my father's younger sister, got murdered by her boyfriend. And it was like a big case in San Francisco because she was missing for like 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at that time, it being on the news, and then eventually her body floated up on the shores of the bay. And her birthday was just a few days before Christmas time. And so she was found, well, actually, no, her birthday was a few days after Christmas, but she was found like a week before Christmas. So that whole period was just like really, really heavy time for the family. But me being the newborn, I didn't know what was going on as a newborn, of course. but it was a balancing point for everything that was going on in my family because I was a newborn baby. So it was just like giving love. And the interesting thing is that I have a full memory of my aunt. Like I knew her, like a full memory. Like she was tucking me out to sleep. Even later, as I was a kid and I stayed at my grandmother's house, it was like she would be tucking me in bed. And so I never knew the full scope of the story until my cousin broke it down to me one time. I was like, oh, damn, that's a trip. And how it plays out just moving through my life is just this principle of balancing out energy. It's just been a real, strong point in my life of being able to, whatever situation is, if it's going too far in a certain direction, just being able to energetically make sure it doesn't go too far, where it just tips everything over. And that situation, when I found out, I was just like, wow, that's an insight right there. So, though it wasn't necessarily a negative thing towards me, but just in my environment. And then a year later, my uncle was murdered by his wife. So still just being a balancing factor within my family at that particular point in time was a trip. And still, as it grew and plays out, and I would notice different situations that I would be involved in, I was always like a split hair away from being a real like that negative situation, like a real deep negative situation, but it was always like a whisper there. It was just like, all right, time to go home, or time to leave, or do this, or hey, let's go this way, and would avoid these really, really traumatic experiences. And not that I didn't have them, but those real deep, like, oh shit, situations, like there was always that guiding force that either balanced it out so it didn't take place, or steered me out of it so I didn't have to get, caught up in something that did take place.
Wow, thank you. It reminds me, so growing up as a kid, I was children's home too, from 6 months to the age of 18. And part of it was that you grew up in a black neighborhood. My children's home was pejoratively black, but the neighborhood that I lived in was pejoratively white. I was only black at school for the first 14 years, and part of me back then related more to a Caucasian viewpoint, point of aesthetics. So for me, I didn't like my nose, didn't like my lips. Like it's like all the things that make me me, I didn't like, because they wasn't how I thought they should be. And that really brought me down and depressed me at home, which no one really knew about, because at school I was an extrovert, at home I was an introvert. Spend times in my room with a mirror up to my face saying, I don't like this, I would change this, I would change that, this job, that. The reason why I bring it up is because, as I was spiraling down, I remember a little voice, because most of the voices at that time were voices of, you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, what's missing? But I remember like a little voice, the first time it came up, I remember it, and it was a little voice in my head. It was the only time I heard a supportive voice that seemed to come from a place of love as opposed to a place of somewhere else. And it said to me, like, just look after your skin. I was like, what? No, but just look after your skin. But that was the first time that I heard of it, or that I heard it speak. And from that time on, I was 6 or 7, 8, that kind of age, I began to listen to it more and more and more. So that voice that you spoke about, the one that was steering you out of trouble, big trouble, do you remember the first time that you heard it and what situation it was in and how it came about?
Sure, yeah. And I'll say this was like a major crossroad between getting caught up in that stereotype and not, and going a completely different direction. So I had a dance crew back in the day, teenage years, and at this point in time I moved over to Oakland, California, so my crew was in Oakland. And Oakland, for those who don't know, is right across from San Francisco. At the time, it was like 60% black city. Now it's different, but at that time. And so my best friend at the time was in my crew, and him and his cousin ended up getting caught in the game, so ended up selling crack or whatnot. And they was getting money, and I was hella broke, right? So that kind of nudge, like, hey man, you can come on in and let's do this, was on the table. It was being presented. And being young and not having a job and just wanting to not get a job so I could still hang out and dance and do my thing, that option was playing in my head. And then what happened was I ended up getting a job with UPS for the seasonal time. It was around Christmas time when this happened. And just as I made that choice, like, all right, I'm gonna go do this job, then my cousin, his cousin got stabbed, right? they got an funk with whoever was in the neighborhood who was also in that world, and they ended up getting run out of town. I got this particular job. Also at the same time when we got this job, then I met somebody in this house party who dropped a jewel on me that would just spark my brain, which would completely send my path to the direction that I was born to follow. And that jewel actually was, simply put, you are God.
Whoa.
So there was a brother who was in this house party.
Wow.
At the time I was 18. He was like 22 or 23 or something. And he was in conversation with these two other women in the party. And I was just eavesdropping on the conversation, and it was just like, he was just saying so much that I just had never heard before. And then he told one of the women, he just looked at him and he was like, you God. There's nobody else controlling your life but you, so, and he said more than that, but it sparked my brain, and I was just like, well, what do you mean, you God? I never heard anybody just look at somebody and be like, you God, because while I had some familiarity with, in terms of like from hip-hop music and certain rap artists who would speak about, black empowerment and these things, and there's no mystery God in the sky, still just my base default definition in regards to spirituality was still coming from a Christian perspective. And so when he said that to her, it just was like, huh, well, what do you mean? And then he just looked at me and was like, you God. And just said it so like matter of fact. And then proceeded to speak for the next 10 minutes, breaking it down. And my 18-year-old mom was just like, boom, boom, boom. So I just asked him, I was just like, so where'd you learn all this information? He was like, look, if you want to know, just, every week me and a few others, we meet up. So if you want to join up, then, you can come and find out, get in on discussion and, learn some things. I was with it. I was like, oh yeah, because his whole energy, his aura was just super calm and just smooth and just dropping super jewels. And in my environment, particularly at that time, I didn't have that. And so that particular situation of making that choice to just take that little seasonal, 11 a.m. to 4 a.m. shift UPS job was a very definitive turning point, and that was the whisper. I was like, man, no, go. I know you ain't trying to do no graveyard shift job, but hey, you better do this job, right? And so in doing that, it kept me clear because of my, from what happened with, people who I was dancing with at the time.
Far out. Well, and like for you, is life one of you get a tap on the shoulder, or do you feel that life is, you said before, you are God, like how did that show up? Because there it feels like someone else is looking out for you, right? To put that situation in your path at a time where had you followed the other path, it would have ended differently, more than likely, right? So then your view on life, maybe spirituality, maybe that's the question I'm asking, which way does it go, or if there's another way, how would you describe it?
I would say it like this, and I would say this is not for everybody, but for most people, I think this could be the case, where we get the whispers. And in the whisper, I don't mean literal, like somebody's whispering in your ear, but there's that intuitive nudge that comes in that's like, all right, go this way or go that way. Do this or don't do this. Add more of this or subtract more of this. It comes in, and oftentimes we don't hear that first whisper, so it gets a little bit louder. Then it's like, hey, go that way, right? And depending on where we are in our own focus and what we're doing, and typically we're distracted by all kinds of stuff, then that whisper becomes a little shout, like, hey, you better go that way. And we don't hear it, then we get smacked in the head. Then we have to follow whatever the whisper was saying, And so over time and getting more in touch with our own spirituality and acquiring the knowledge and the tools in order to hear the whisper, we start to widen the channel. So when the whisper comes in, we can hear it more clearly, and then we don't have to get the progression, which leads to the shout, to the smack, because now we're hearing the whispers. And so for me, and I feel this is for most people, to the degree that we can, set up the situations in our daily life where we are opening up the channel to access the whispers that come in every day. There are always whispers coming in, but we're just, like this or like that. Hey, what you doing tonight? We're always doing that, and we can miss the whisper. And so our different practices are just so we can hear the whispers clearer. So even if we go in these different environments, we're constantly being able to have our higher guidance points give us communication on what to do and what not to do, when not to do, when to stop, when to go, because the channel is open.
Got it. Now, you mentioned before at 20, the guy who's 22, what was his name? Bashir. So the interesting thing is that I see that in you, right? So it's like, in a way, from the limited that I know of you, like you are that person, incredibly calm, right? I think nothing seems to faze you. And when you speak, I listen, right? And I know I'm not alone, right? It's interesting that one person can affect you so much. It's like, as I think I said before, someone asked me before, like, what is SpeakuP Monday about, you know? And if I could kind of put it into a phrase, it would be people inspire people. You know, that would be it. And that's a reoccurring theme that I see week after week with people. And actually, I love it, right? Because to me, it's like, if people can inspire people, then we're limitless, right? I don't like to be, to feel like I'm blocked or limited in any way, right? And then when I meet people like you, and I get to talk to people like you, it reminds me of that. And the voice, go this way, go that way. I feel that's come up so many times for me as well. And I know I'm not alone, you know. But it's a great reminder, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing, right? We're spiritual beings. Like, when people talk about spirituality, they often think in terms of, like, you know, the view of what a spiritual person looks like.
Yeah.
But for myself, there's no way not to be spiritual. Like, even if you the big beer belly on the couch like this with a moat, that's still an aspect of the one having an experience of itself. Thus, your animating life force is spirit, so that is also an experience of spirituality, right? And so, for me, from that perspective, it allows for a respect of where a person is at in their own spiritual progress. Because just as, you know, a seed gets planted, it takes time, of course, to grow into a tree and sprout fruit. You know, you don't look at a little sprout and be like, what's wrong with you? You know, you need to, you know, do growth. You don't do that, right? It's going to grow in its own due time. And everybody's moving on their own pace. And so when those whispers come in, they're going to come in a bit differently depending on what a person's journey is and what they need to learn in order to move into the next stage of their own journey. So for me, with meeting that brother Basir at that particular party, that was crucial for me to get, particularly those, it could have been other words perhaps, you know, but for me, it was those words that was going to spark me. You know, it wasn't going to be like a slow, it needed a direct hit. You got. And then that would just go paradigm shift really quickly. So other people, it comes in a little bit more progression, you know, or some people need to go through the religious path first and have a couple more lumps before they come into awareness that's going to shoot them into their true expression. Now, everybody's expression isn't the same, one. Two, not everybody is to be, you know, a monk or something like that, right? Some people are to be, you know, in the world, like deep in the world doing their thing. Some people are in it, but not of it. And, you know, everybody has to look within their own selves and hear that whisper for what the guidance is to move on their own path. Because all the whisper is their own intuitive guidance. So it's their soul speaking. That's all it is, right? And so how my soul communicates with me is going to be different for how it may communicate with you, because we have, though I can tell just by us meeting up that we have an alignment in direction, but there's very specific things that are unique to you that are not necessarily me, and vice versa. The same with, you know, anybody, right? So the importance has always been for myself to, you know, acquire the necessary knowing in order to apply it to my life, in order to take whatever my progression is. It's still the mystery of where it's going to develop to, but to take it further and closer towards that goal. And every single person, I think, if you really reflect on the different markers in our lives, those paradigm shifting catalysts that take place, if you really reflect, right in those moments are jewels that are what is our path and how our path is particularly moving.
Got it. Thank you, brother. And then so for you, so some daily practices that you follow that help to keep you open, aligned. We had a chat earlier on about how you view time, right? Appointments and all this, and you keep yourself active but not busy.
Active, never busy.
Yeah, active, never busy. So could you share some of the things that you do on a daily basis to keep yourself active, and then go into that Chinese way of looking at it? I love that. But afterwards, yeah.
Oh, so
in whichever order comes.
For sure. Well, primary thing is that has been, extremely beneficial in my own life is Qi Gong. And but even before learning Qi Gong, I learned how to meditate, and the principles involved with meditation and what it's about 20 years ago. That came when I was 20. And so early on, I got into some practices that would allow me to shift into a way of viewing life that is smooth and more balanced way of moving, and a more balanced way of flowing, as opposed to always trying to make everything happen. The understanding that we're connected with everything, it allows a certain relaxation, where we can just relax into the flow of life and not have to force everything, knowing that, as I said, divine timing is going to come. We just do the necessary steps in order to move towards our goal, but also allow enough space for the universe to work its magic and support us in that process. And in that way, one, we don't get burnt out. Two, we tend to be where we need to be when we need to be there. And we move in harmony with the ebb and flow of life, right? Because, like, for example, can I tell a little story?
Please, would love you to. Yeah.
It's a little extended story. I'll try to make sure it's not too long, but it's important to exemplify this point. So, 3.5 years ago, something like that, I had played a DJ gig in Hong Kong, right? And it was just a little small spot, had a nice intimate crowd, and it was cool, it was fun. It was spontaneous, it wasn't like big promotion or anything, it was just like, yeah, I play, it's all good, with a word from a friend there. Finished that, and we're like, yeah, next time you come back, let's set something up so it can be more promoted and blah, blah, blah. Cool. So a few months passed by, and I shoot a message, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to come through to Hong Kong on my way to Japan because I'm going to go do some stuff in Japan. And I sent the word to this person, and this is like, 4 months in advance, and I bought my ticket already. It was like $76. I was like, oh, nah. So I caught the ticket and set the time. So the person I was coordinating with, she was like, just hit me a little bit closer because it's still a ways out, and then we'll get the promotion roll. So time goes by, and it's about a month away, and I'm like, just reminder, like, hey, I'm about to become this. Oh, cool. I'm gonna find the venue, blah 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 blah. So about a week goes by, or a week and a half, or something like that, and she sends me a video of this particular venue where I'm gonna play at. So I'm like, all right, cool, thumbs up, let's do it. And so time goes by, and then it's about a week before I have to go to Hong Kong. Now, I see this thing on my Facebook that comes on my feed of this fashion designer, right? He's a Cameroonian fashion designer, and he did this collaboration with this Japanese fashion designer, and he made some kimonos out of African fabric and using African print, but they were full kimono style Japanese, right? And one of the models he was using was a friend of mine named Abi, who lives in Tokyo. She used to live here in Bali. And I was like, oh, so I shared it. Check this out. This is dope. And I love Japan. Japan is like my spirit home. So I was really juiced off this particular collaboration. Cool. Pause. Now back to the other part. So I fly to Hong Kong, stay with a friend there, and I hit up the person I was coordinating with in order to do this particular event. And she was like, oh, I didn't tell you. I didn't get the venue. So I paid my own flight to go to Hong Kong, and she didn't get the venue and didn't tell me that she didn't get the venue. So I'm rocking up thinking, we're going to play, and there's no gig, there's no promotion, there's nothing happening. And so she's like, oh, I'm super busy, and but just come to where I'm at tomorrow, and then we can talk. All right, rock up to meet her, and she's got papers all over her desk. just clearly that she was just so involved with whatever she was doing. She was just not thinking about me, this gig at all whatsoever. Interestingly enough, I felt it. Like I felt, so when she said it and I saw it, it was like that, but it wasn't like I didn't blow up or anything like that. I don't blow up anyway, but I wasn't as mad as you might think someone would justifiably be, right? But what hit me was just like, so what else is happening? Right? So my friend, she was like, let's go down to check out this boutique down here. I had my words with her and she went back to whatever she was doing. And my friend was like, let's go check out this venue down here. Maybe we can set something up over there. Cool, walk down. So go in there, and immediately I noticed the clothing that's in this particular boutique. And it's got these jackets and it's got like these African style clothing in this little particular boutique, like real chic, modern African, couture, but streetwear or whatever. Anyhow, the owner of the venue comes up, French woman. She's like, hey, hello, says hello to my friend. They know each other. Introduction. And then the woman's just like, hey, we're doing this all week right now. We're doing this African festival, African arts festival. And she gave a flyer and it has a map on there. We're showcasing 24 different African artists in 25 different galleries around Hong Kong. I'm like, oh shit, dope, cool. Well, I mean, can't play, but at least there's something to see. So we asked about potentially playing in this boutique, and she was like, let me check in with my partner and get back to you. All right, so we decided to go check out this gallery that was nearest to us, that boutique, and just see what's up in there. So we started walking towards this particular gallery. As we're crossing the street, there's this African brother who's crossing the street coming this way. So we meet on the corner. Hey, what's up? You know how black people be. Going to other countries, like you see another black person. Hey, what's up? What's up? And particularly Hong Kong and places like that. So we ended up having a little conversation. And he's like, oh, it happens to be the founder. So that was that woman's partner, right? It's like, oh, cool. And he asked, where are you going? I'm like, we're going to go check out this particular gallery and right down here. He's like, oh, it's closed for the minute, but there's another guy walking up. He's like, that guy's the presenter in that gallery. We're just gonna go have lunch. And then he walks up, introductions, and he's like, oh, I asked him, I was like, so you doing it in the gallery? He's like, yeah. So what are you showcasing? He's like, oh, I'm a designer. I make these kimonos using Japanese. I made this collaboration with this Japanese designer of African print. It's the dude I posted about. It's the same dude I posted about a week earlier.
Love it.
Standing right here talking to him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know Abby? He was like, yeah, I know Abby. I was like, God damn it, look at how that works. It's like, well, so we ended up going to have lunch and talking, and then we went and checked out the showcase afterwards. And it was just a trip, and it was a trip for multiple reasons. Now, okay, so that's the little story. And what would have happened, right, if when that woman said, oh, I didn't get the venue, I just blew up.
Yeah.
What the Back down, flew all the way here. I paid my ticket. One, I'd have been screaming. I'm in China, or Hong Kong, or China now, shit. And get all this riled up energy.
Yeah.
Which could lead to who knows what.
Yeah.
I get fired up, a cop walks by as I'm all fired up. Hey, what's going on over there? And you know how that shit ends up, right? And not only that, miss the opportunity to follow up on what really wants to happen.
Yeah.
Which was to go down to this venue, check in with, oh shit, all these Africans, meet this brother who I just was talking about, sit with him, who was just like dope to chat up with him. Go in, then in another synchronicity, meeting another artist who was being showcased, who was in my neighborhood in San Francisco, who knows all the people in my neighborhood because he was going to the cultural center there while he was going to his university in San Francisco.
Wow.
So all these different synchronicities were playing out, but they would not have played out if I allowed the anchor to take over the moment and just try to regain some sense of pride or some shit, by lashing out at this particular woman because she was just in her shit.
Thanks for sharing that, brother. So the quick conversation we had before, distilling that point, and it's about the Chinese way of following, and you're saying it's just enough energy to get it started.
Right, the Wu Wei principle.
The Wu Wei principle. Can you just quickly explain that for everybody here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wu Wei is just essentially like effortless action.
Effortless action. That's it.
It's a means of doing just enough to allow what wants to happen and what your intention is to happen, and not trying to put any extra to make it happen, and just to allow life to work its magic. And in that way, it prevents a lot of unnecessariness.
Yeah.
Particularly within your own energy field. It prevents one from being all super stressed out or trying to force something, getting angry at things that don't go, quote unquote, your way.
Yeah.
You know? That's the principle, essentially the principle of Wu Wei.
See, what I love about that, and there's someone in the audience, I'm not going to point them out. If they remember, they remember. If they don't, and that's okay. Is that I love that because a lot of the time, right, we get stuck in this, you know, and I'll put my hand up, right? I get stuck in this one too. Not so much now, but just action, push. But I love that principle, the Wu Wei principle, because it just reminds us, right? You do enough as you need to do to get it going. And then you let synchronicity and everything else come in to take it on to the next step of wherever it's supposed to go. I think that's a really powerful insight or reminder. And the other one was this, you know, this thing about understanding there's a larger game, if you want to call it a game, going on, you know, about the, you know, when you were there and you could have responded or reacted to that woman who didn't book the venue, was clearly overwhelmed doing what she was doing and wasn't, as you said, wasn't paying any attention really effectively to what you're doing, and just keeping in that energy of there's a wider purpose here, right? And then which in turn, as you said, allowed you to be open and just to follow all the way through, you know? So is there any time where you haven't followed that and you've had a different result that you can remember?
That I could remember? I'd have to go back a while.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, like I'm pretty cool in terms of managing that aspect. Like, if you see me blow up, it's definitely justified, like really justified. And it's usually not even relationship to me. It's when I witness somebody else being done unjustly.
Yeah.
That, like, particularly like young folks. So like I mentored a group of, you know, b-boys here in Bali, some kids who were into hip hop dance. You know, that's what kept me out here for, you know, next month will be 16 years.
Ooh.
And it was a grind trying to get them to get respect from these venues, because they just saw them as little Balinese kids who just threw themselves on the floor, right? They didn't respect it as an art form or a dance. And so I was constantly having to, you know, negotiate with people to get in, like, and there was 12 of us, and I'm trying to get them money. I ain't just trying to get them, oh yeah, exposure. Nah, they spend hours on the cement practicing. You feel me? Scars all over. So if they're gonna put on a show, you're gonna give them their proper due. So I was grinding for them like that, and so sometimes just venues would just do scandalous things, like, and really exploitative things, and that would just blow my top. And I would just be in people's faces, like, schooling a lot of folks, just, you know, who were just being disrespectful in that part. So that's not necessarily a thing in relationship to synchronicity or nothing like that, but just in relationship to, there is a time to be angry and a time to show and bring that energy about, because it's necessary in order to bring about some type of transformation, right? Fire transforms, right? So if I felt something needed that type of transformation and sharp, and it couldn't come through a water form or anything like that, then I'll bring that form. It's just, it rarely needs to get to that point for me personally. Oh, but it can go there for sure. You know, so the synchronicities, I've only missed a flight, I think, twice in my life. And both times it led to some dope ass shit. So, I mean, I learned quick. So when things like that happen, it's just like, just let go, man. Don't try to control. Not everything is, you know, negative just because something doesn't go your way. You know, if you can expand out a little bit, you'll see that there is a higher guidance system at play, And most things that in the moment are like super negative, in hindsight, you're like, damn, that's kind of dope that happened. This whole moment, right? This whole moment of global catalyst, if it can be seen as such and taken advantage of as such as a time to turn the scope inward and for everybody to really assess what is my path, what is my offering to humanity at this particular point in time. How can I take this moment and birth something new from it? How can I connect with other people who also have that particular vision of taking this moment and birthing something new from it, as opposed to trying to get back to what was or fight people who they think are in control of the situation, but really turn the scope inward and doing that inner work to set the course for what's new. If I can do that, then that's a proper use of something that is quote unquote negative.
Got you.
That's transmutation of the negative to the positive.
Got it.
And that's yin yang. That's essentially yang, the yin yang symbol. That's essentially what yin yang. And when I think of yin yang, I see it in 3D. I see it like a dance of constantly morphing in and out of itself, not a stagnant, linear, flat object symbol. I see it in motion. It's constantly in motion. And because of that, like, it takes a lot to really piss me off. So if I get pissed off, trust me,
it's a reason.
I had it coming.
Got it. So look, just for those just tuning in, this is Speak Up Monday. Every Monday here, give Kamau a chance to rest. Not that he needs it. So every Monday, 7 o'clock is what we do. So if you feel like you feel drawn to do this, feel free to put your hand up, or you want to volunteer someone else. That often happens, actually. Feel free to pass them on to me, and I've actually got 100% success rate in asking people. For some reason, they just want to do it. I don't know why. And so just remember, so 7 o'clock here at Tropical Nomad every Monday. Now, what came up for me was two questions. So one was, so what do you think, drives you? Because I see and I love it, right? With the kids, you're like, you've been here for 16 years in Bali, and with the kids, I see that you're invested. You're invested in teaching them and mentoring them, as you mentioned before. Do you know where that came from?
I got it from my mama.
Yeah.
I was on her hip while she was teaching, she was a high school teacher, after school in the community center teaching, acting coach, all that stuff. So just my formative years, and I was a quiet child. I wasn't like a messy child who she needed to watch all the time. She could take me literally anywhere, put me in a corner with some markers and a piece of paper, and I was good. I'm just in that environment of observing her, guiding other people. And then, my mother and my pops, they split when I was 5, though. He stayed just around the corner. But he wasn't like a teacher. He was just a cool dude with everybody. So seeing how he, worked with other folks in a social sense. And then, but my brother was also super like leadership qualities, like one of those dudes who, he had a bomb graffiti crew, like just was super known and energizing folks in that way. He was also into surfing and like really moving in that way. And so like watching him just be an alpha amongst his friends and watching him like whoop people's ass. And I got respect. Like I wasn't a fighter. I was an art dude, but he could fight. So he wouldn't mess with me because they knew he could fight. And, he backed me up quite a few times. And so I had some strong influences consistently. So immediate family, but then also like meeting the brother Basir. And then that community of folks I would start hanging out with, all were just deeply refined in the way that they presented themselves. Brothers, sisters, all young, but all like really refined in the way they thought and the way they moved. And so, and plus some very important teachers in high school. Just I always had influences that I just like that would come in who always would be able to drop some jewels. So it was only natural for me when I came to Bali and I saw some youngins who were into what I was into to just want to assist them in getting it so they're in alignment with the culture as opposed to just going off of what they saw on TV. So like, nah, here's what's up, here's what's not up. That's bullshit, that's commercialization, but this is the real. And so guiding them in that was just natural for me. It wasn't like, and I didn't come here to do that, like I'm gonna come and teach. No, it just was a natural progression because it's just natural for me to share what I know.
Got it, brother. Got it. And still in touch with mommy and daddy at the moment?
Well, Pop's made a transition.
Okay.
But Mom's is in New York. She's the only one in my family who she's like, I'm done with San Francisco. She doesn't like San Francisco anymore. So she moved to New York around the time I came out here. And yeah, we all got social media, so.
Got it. And then, so I was involved in clubs for lots of years, and the thing which I loved about clubs, right, was a place where, all these different cultures, ideologies, and people could come together, unique in their own stories, can come together and celebrate what makes us human, right, around music and dance. And some people want to drink, some people want to do other stuff, no problem. But I love that aspect about clubs, and I was pure in that, and I still love it now, right, from that perspective. So what brought you towards that environment? Because obviously you're a DJ, right? And I've heard you play. I love what you do. I love the energy that you bring through the music. But what is it for you that inspires that or drives that and brought you into that environment in the first place?
Again, culture, just growing up in it, So high school, getting into dance, and going to parties, dance crews, going out, party hopping. Getting older, going to clubs, club hopping, and I was never really a drinker. Like I was never into. I always blazed for sure, but I wasn't the drinker, dude. I had my first Cisco, threw up, and I was like, I'm good, I'm cool, and same with cigarette. I tried a cigarette once, coughed my ass off, and never tried it again. So, but the club environment, I went for the music and the dance. And the music was good for me so much that we would get into the dance and we didn't need any extra to get into it. Yeah, it was just the vibes would allow for that. And so when I came to Bali first, just I brought a whole lot of CDs at the time. CDJs had just came out, so I brought all my CDs because I wasn't gonna be out here with no music, and I needed to get some income coming in. So a friend of mine who was Indonesian at the time basically was just like, all right, well, let's go over to this place. And he ended up taking me to curator, like what at the time was like the best top venue at the time. And I had never played a DJ set in my life. And I went and he was like, hey, this guy wants to DJ. And they were like, just, make a CD mix and come and give it back to us. So Red Buzz, there was an Indonesian DJ named Red Buzz who was living here at the time. Went to his house, made a little mix, and then went back and gave it to curator, to Donnie. It was Donnie One who was there at the time. And I think a week and a half or something went by. I didn't hear anything, and then I had a message like, hey, you listened to it? And he was like, oh, sorry, I've been busy. I didn't listen to it, but just come in and play a set. So I'm like, all right. And I went in, and thankfully, curator, it was a daytime set. It was lounge. Nobody was dancing. It was not like mixing. You could just play songs in and out. So I was like, all right, cool, I could do that. So I didn't tell them that. I was just like, all right, I came in, played a little 3-hour set, all this classic soul stuff that nobody else was playing there. Everybody was more, house. And, ambiance, Cafe Del Mar type shit. And I'm coming in with classic soul, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Stevie, and all these things. And they were like, all right. Signed up my first DJ gig at curator. Never played before. And then I was over people's shoulder like, all right. And then from that led to doing a little hip-hop shots, starting a hip-hop party, dancehall party. I brought hella dancehall music. Apache was a club down in Kuta, Bob Marley club, essentially, reggae spot. Went in there, started playing dancehall on Saturdays. All the locals looking at me crazy, like, what the fuck? What's going on with that? But yeah, that's how I started DJing. And still, for longest, like I never had equipment. I never had no DJ equipment. I would be listening to, I'd have all these CDs, and I'd be like trying to listen and then like write down the BPMs and stuff on a piece of paper, and I was just doing it like I was just on the fly learning, like literally on the fly learning, so.
Love it. Yeah. Man, and look guys, so pretty soon we're going to have any questions to the audience, and you're at home over here, over there. If you have any questions, Facebook Live is good. We can see the questions there. bit easier than YouTube at the moment for me. Have any questions, feel free. Think about them and ask them. Now, while you think about that, so with what's happening now, I'm curious to get your perspective, right? On and I don't usually talk about this because I don't know why, but it's coming up now, so I'll talk about it. So with the whole COVID situation that we're going through now, the world is going through now, so it's not really a play on what you think, what you don't think, but with your perspective, how do you view it?
I'll kind of go back to a little bit what I was saying before. It's all a catalyst, man. All of it. It's an opportunity for everyone to turn the scope inward and look at every aspect of their life and get it in order. You know, this situation has forced everyone to look at their health and where they are with it. Everyone. Right? Now, unfortunately, the majority of the world has abdicated the power of their health over to other people, so-called, you know, doctors and stuff. So, doctor, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. People who already have been moving in their own health, just whatever if they're into nutrition, if they're into Qi Gong, if they're doing, you know, fitness, whatever they are doing, and they've already reclaimed their own responsibility for their health, chances are they're not running to doctors. There's just a big chance that they're like, look, I'm good. My health is good. I know how to boost my immune system when stuff gets going down. I know what to take. I know what not to take anymore. I know what to, you know, add on and subtract where I need for my own body because they're already in tune with it. So for people who haven't done that particular work, they're probably doing it now. So it's a good catalyst for that. And the people who are generally the most afraid are the people who aren't doing it, or the people who don't know how to do that. Some people just don't know how to do it. And it's such a minefield of information now that people just don't know where to look or what to believe. And so I'm just 100% advocate of off, log out, go out, natural world, trees, ocean, natural environments where you can get more in touch with your own body, your own beingness, your own health, your own mentality. Because if you stay in the social sphere, you're just going to be constantly inundated with all this information. Some of it is true, some of it is false, a lot of it is lies, hell of it is bullshit. It's convoluted, you feel me? And so the only way to come back to center is to turn it off. And so in turning it off, that's where you can really assess your own life and get in touch with your own path. And that's the thing with the sphere. If you're constantly in it, you're just caught up in the distractions, and if you're caught in the distractions, you're not tuning the scope inward to see what's going on with your own spiritual sphere. Because that's what's going to, again, we talk about the channel to hear the whispers. There's no way you're going to hear the whisper if you're constantly looking at what somebody else is posting, arguing with some cat over here, looking at what they say. There's no way to hear that internal whisper if you're constantly doing that. So, you know, I'm a big advocate for, hey, turn that shit off, go into the trees. You know, the trees got something to say.
Got it. And for those of you which may be watching now, so, you know, we're in Bali. A lot of people have this information already. They're hip to it. They're open to it. It's available. But there are some people that maybe, you know, are caught up. A place where they live is like 6 by 6, not so big. Maybe they haven't got access to get to trees, haven't got access to get out, you know. What are some ways that people can begin to find this inner voice, inner guidance, inner way of being? And I love what you said about reclaiming your health. I'm with you, man. But someone who's maybe watching this now, how can they do that?
Step one, turn it off. Like this, you have to turn it off. You in there too. You have to turn it off. Keep this on. But, you know, all the arguing and debating is a full 100% distraction from you going within. And you can do it anywhere in any environment. So, like, while I say, you know, of course, if you can get to nature, you can get to a park or something, like, do that. Make time to do that. If you cannot, for whatever reason, you have to stay inside, then, you know, if you have a TV, which chances are you do, or a phone, then put on that little YouTube clip that got that nice sunset, got that meditative music, you know, light your candles, turn out the lights, or whatever you need to do in order to just get centered. because it's 100% fundamental. There's no way you're going to come to your center and find out what's going on with your own being if you don't do it. No way. There's absolutely no way you can find your soul inside Facebook. You won't find it. You got to turn it off and listen to yourself. You got to take a break and just sit and be still if you're always moving. And if you're always still, then you need to move. You know, it's about balance, right? So if you're always still and chill and you need to move your body. If you're always moving your body, you need to, you know, take a little break. You know, and in this way, you can get in touch with the deeper aspects of your being. And that will tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to do in that regard. After that point, I can't tell you what to do. You know, it's on each person to get to that place of receptivity to know what to do. You know? And that comes from going within. You know, everybody else is, as they say, the finger pointing to the moon. I'm a finger pointing to the moon, you're a finger pointing to the moon. You know, but the moon is the moon, or the sun is the sun. And each person has to direct connect with that sun in order to receive the benefits of that. And so, like when we go to the sunset, when we go to the beach, you know, it takes no effort to tune right in, right? No effort. You don't have to think, relax when you go to watch the sunset. It takes no thought. Just be in the sunset, and your body is naturally going to go, oh, yes, finally, and center itself. If you're at home, it's going to be more difficult, but the principle is still the same. It's going to take a little bit more adjustment. If you got a messy home, you want to make a little space that's nice and clean. You know, I know people got youngins. If you got youngins, find some way to either bring them into it, which would be beneficial, where you all can just find some type of relaxing. There are ways of play in which you can bring all of you as a collective into a state of, you know, harmony. But each person has to find that puzzle piece for themselves in order to get to that center point. You know, and it's going to be, like I say, everybody's different and in different situations, but they have to work that out. And that's what this process is about. It's about working it out. It's about saying, okay, this has not been going correctly. This has been so out of alignment. This has been so out of order in my life that if I'm going to change it, I have to do something different, right? Most people know the statement, you know, the Einstein quote, right? You can't solve a consciousness you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it, right? And this whole time period is that quote. Look at that quote. Hey, everybody, you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. Thus, if I think this person over here is running my life and my life is shit, and I'll be giving all my power to this person running my life, then I got to stop giving this person the power over my life, right? I have to take it back, right? If for all these years I've been like, all right, well, I'm going to vote this way, and it goes to shit. Okay, now I'm going to vote this way, and that goes to shit. Okay, well, let me go back to going this way. That shit don't change nothing. You feel me? So perhaps I just, you know, give the vote to the high self to come in and give me some guidance. And it's okay, like, to throw up your hands, like, look, I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. Give me assistance. Like, literally ask for it. But you have to get into the space of stillness in order to ask for it. And then you'll be still enough to hear that whisper that's going to come back, and then you'll know what to do. And even if you don't know how to do it, you'll at least be guided in a certain direction to receive those answers of how to do it. You know, so turn it off.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I get you. I get you. So there's two things which come up. One is I love talking to you. So for those guys who are not here, like when you talk to this guy, Kamau, he's got this. Like there's three types of listening, right? One type of listening is listening to interrupt, right? That's like, hey, yeah, but what I think, listening to interrupt. The second kind of listening is like listening because I'm pretending to listen. And the third type of listening is what I call active listening, where you're listening for what is being said and what is being not said, right? And you tune into that. When you find someone in that place, like there's something magnetic about when you speak to them, and that's what I get from you, and I love it, right? Because I can see you're right here with me, and like it's a whole nother level. So I want to thank you for that. It's something I want to let you know about, and I love and I get, you know, from the way you live your life, and from the practices that you're doing, you know, possibly what is creating that state of being for you, which you share with other people, right? So that's the first thing. Thank you, my brother. All right. The second thing is, and I'll give them a plug, the boys from Samadhi and girl from Samadhi are here. So Nonna, you need to talk to Jacques, Nick over here, because you got things in common that you guys need to work out. It just came suddenly, so have a chat to them. Samadhi, they're good people. You're late, but don't worry, you made it now. All right? Yeah, but very good people. We're doing some stuff together. We're working it out, but incredible people. I feel a nice connection with all of them, right? So definitely have a chat to them, right? They're open. Even though two are Dutch, one is French, but it's all good though, man. Going Dutch, baby. It's good. All right. Now, are there any questions that anyone has, whether you've just arrived or otherwise? And remember, no question is a silly question, because if you've got something in your mind, it means that someone else has got it but hasn't got the courage to ask it most of the time. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You know what? It's good timing. I'll give you 30 seconds while I reboot this one. Oh, good timing. Woohoo! All right. Questions for Kamau. Yes. All right. So take that one there. Ichi and Bella, are there any questions? Any questions on Facebook Live? All good? All right. We're going to go like that. Then I'm going to do this.
I think I have a question.
Beautiful.
I put purpose time the phrase active but never busy.
Yes.
It's very interesting. I think about it, but in my own way. How do you understand that you became too active and then you became busy? How do you understand and do the thing?
All right. So what she was saying was that she really picked up on the phrase of being active but never busy. Yeah, and it was new when I heard it earlier on. It was new for me too, and I actually love it, right? And then your question was, just so I repeat to these guys here, and your question was, how did you get to that?
How do you understand when you became busy? When you too much?
Right. So then, how do you understand? So how do you understand when you get too busy, and what's the criteria? Yeah, and what's the criteria for recognizing, right, that you're too busy? That's the question.
Yeah, great question. For myself, if someone asks me to have a chat or meet up and I constantly have to deny them, I'm too busy. If, particularly for myself, because I do a lot of counseling work and teaching, if I have to tell somebody, how about, I'm too busy. If I can't sit and have a conversation, even in the moment, like to take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and I know, I have things that I do as well, but if I can't hit somebody up and be like, hey, give me another 20 minutes, I'm too busy. That's me personally. Now, each person has to really recognize where they are, and I know, particularly in this environment where it's very networking and meetings and these particular things, simultaneously, if I have to schedule my time to tune into my own creator, I'm too busy. And for me, tuning into the creator is also having a conversation with somebody who needs to hear something or to be able to share something as well.
So do you build a schedule for yourself for a day?
I don't build schedules.
Just in the flow?
I don't schedule anything before 9 p.m. Excuse me, 9 a.m. That'd be like nothing. I don't schedule anything before 9 a.m. And I just had a conversation because there's like a new project in Ubud, and they're like, we want you to teach Qi Gong, and they're like, okay, what time? And they're like 7 a.m. I'm like,
Oops.
no.
You have your morning routines.
Yeah, I keep my mornings. And I generally don't plan anything on Sunday either. Not that I won't do something that, like, if someone, oh yeah, what's up, I'll do that, but I generally keep my Sundays completely open and schedule nothing, so I'm free to do whatever I want and go whatever direction I want to on that day. And pay my rent still. Still eat.
When you say somebody, oh, I'm busy, like, what do you do next to yourself from your life when you're busy? You need to do less things during the day, or you need to center?
Personally, again, I don't say I'm busy. I'm not busy. I've had this philosophy for a long time, particularly being here in Bali, because when I was still in the States, you're somewhat forced to be busy.
Be busy.
Huh?
Yeah.
You have no choice. That's
You have
what
no
I wanted
choice.
to say. No, I mean, you always have a choice, but if you live in a certain environment and you work in office hours and this kind of thing, sometimes you're busy. You want it or not, you're busy. You know?
When I go back to visit, like in the States, like seriously, I haven't seen family and friends and stuff for literally years, and they're like, 2 weeks, I'll be back in the Bay, and 2 weeks later, I'm meeting like my best peoples. You know what I mean? It's like 2 weeks later, it's like, damn, I've been here just strolling around for 2 weeks. So anyway, but that's a different situation. That's a bit more difficult to move into that space. It can still be done. It just takes a little bit more coordination of how to do that. But in a place like Bali, we can schedule our time. We can control our time completely, straight up, completely control our time. If we're busy here, it's because we're running a program of we must be busy.
One task per day.
You say what? One task per day?
One task per day is your rule. Yeah.
That's good. First thing to reclaiming that is recognizing it. And recognizing it, like your question is if you're getting just to those points where it's like, damn, people are asking me to just meet up and I'm like, I got to.
It's your problem.
It means your busy program is running. That's very city. That means you brought wherever you just came from to Bali and you don't need it here. Here, time is completely different. I woke up. I teach Qigong in Ubud on Friday mornings. 8:30 was. I went for 9. They were like, but I was like, all right, 8:30, it's fine. And so Friday, I woke up at like 7 in the morning, and woke up just like it was, normal. Do my own thing. I was in my underwear. Went on my porch, started practicing Qigong. Then all of a sudden, it hit me at like 8:20. I was like, oh shit, it's Friday.
Where's the time?
And then I had to hit, the barn and be like, man, I can't come in because I stay 20 minutes out of town from Ubud where the one is. And I had to hit him and just be like, I can't come in because I don't do the rush thing either. I don't do I gotta get there. Cool. That's how you end up on the side of the road with hella scrapes. So I don't rush. I don't do it. I just have to reschedule. And
you don't feel guilty?
No, because I understand that there's some ebbs happen for specific reasons that they need to happen. You're not supposed to be doing this particular day, and that's okay for me. Like it's normal for me. So it's like, there will be another opportunity. There'll be other classes. I'm not going to risk all this. Oh my God, because then they ask you, say, okay, so what happened? Well, I'm like, well, I just was on my porch practicing in my underwear, and I just realized it was Friday. That's what happened. I'm not going to lie about it, and so, because to me, that's why we're here. We're not here to duplicate what was all the stress and stuff of where we came from. We're not here to duplicate that. We're here to move and flow in a different way, and this island provides the perfect opportunity to do that if we can just accept it and move in it. And for whoever can't accept that, then I guess we're not working together. Simple as that for me.
Thank you, thanks, buddy. Kamau, just maybe move I'm not sure if the microphone's covered. Yeah, you're good. Now, any other questions, Laurent?
No.
Or comments?
It's not a question, it's more comment. Like, it makes you feel happy to do also your obligation, which becomes not an obligation anymore, as long as it's not something that you have to do. If you can kind of manage your own time, you can stick to the same activity for more years and feel more happy to do it. And when you have a very strict schedule and you have to always rush and be busy, everything's like this in Bali.
Yeah, I think if people can find within their own selves their own codes and really adhere to the boundaries of those codes, then life is going to adjust to match it and still give you what it is that you want. You don't have to, we were conditioned to believe in a 40-hour work week. That was a full-on program, and we can break out of that if we decide to, and we adhere to the codes, right? So I have other codes that I just adhere to. It's just like, I ain't doing that. I don't care how much money do I need. That I'm not doing.
But do you know any other place in the world where you can do it? That's the question.
Oh, there are.
I'm sure there are. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm not there, so.
But there is other point as well.
Yeah.
Because of course, I mean, to be free, not to be rushed by schedule and so on is great. But also you can get lost in all this as well. I think, my personal opinion, it is important to keep some kind of routine.
Sure.
So whatever that routine is, can be Qigong for you,
I agree.
can be reading, writing, or certain kind of things as well for everybody else. Because also to keep some kind of
Rhythm.
schedule, rhythm, and this, I guess it's very, very important. Because Bali can get you in other way as well.
For
because
sure.
You're covering one aspect, but other aspect can be damaging as well.
For sure. 100%.
So just to quickly interject, so what, thanks brother man, was saying that in Bali, you know, that he feels that it's also important to have some type of routine, whether it's Qigong in the morning, because Bali in a way you can kind of go the opposite direction and everything is up to whatever it is and it's like, well, nothing gets done, right? So that's what a little comment, not a little comment, but a comment coming back just in case you comment on it so people over here can understand what we're talking about.
And this is the importance of balance, right?
Yeah.
And understanding principles of how to balance your life so you have every aspect of your life fulfilled, and fulfilled in a natural way, not in a way that is like forcing yourself to be in a certain way, right? So yeah, routine is definitely important because it allows for centering, you know, and direction and, you know, moving on your purpose. And the different activities that bring that about are going to be different for different people, of course. But I do feel that everybody should have something, for sure. Because it is hella easy here to, just be like, and just be completely ungrounded. You know, so having a balance of things that, like, so for me with Qigong, and even before I get out of bed, I do certain things that bring me firmly here. Because, you know, we go to sleep, you know, we out traveling for, you know, 6-8 hours, however many hours people sleep. And then when we come back, we got to come back and put down. So practices that do that help to root and then, you know, move into the day. And this is why, you know, I keep my mornings, no schedule, nothing. Nah, I need that time to firmly get in my flow. So when I do step out, I can step out from a centered space.
So look, we've got a question here. So the question is, let's read it. Hey Judith, how you doing, darling? So the question is, I want to ask Kamau, what is the skill he is most proud of, and what was the best decision of his life until now? So what skill are you most proud of, and what was the best decision of your life till now?
Allow me to remix the word proud.
Yeah.
And I could say what I'm most grateful for being able to do.
Yeah.
To be able to connect with youth, young people. That's, I'm grateful for the ability to do that. And with that is just grateful for being able to express in a multitude of arts. So like whatever arts, if I'm going to express creativity, like I dive fully into it. So if I'm going to dance, I'm going to dance. If I'm going to pick up a pen and write something, I'm going to write something. If I'm going to rhyme, I'm going to rhyme. If I'm going to play some music, I'm going to play some music. And this ability has allowed me to just, you know, connect with young folks. And because of that, able to, you know, provide seeds for others in the same way that seeds were provided for me. So I'm grateful for that.
Wow. Thank you. And then the second part of the question was what skill?
Yeah, that was the youth.
That was the skill, the youth?
Yeah, the other one was the...
Decision.
Yeah. I would have to say that decision to take that UPS job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd have to say that it was that.
Yeah.
Because that was a clear, you are standing in front of two roads. What are you going to choose? And that road I did not want to do, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
And it led to, now I'm here.
Everything. Yeah. 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 And look, for those of you maybe just tuning in, so one of the things I like to draw a bit of attention to is that each week I talk about this because it comes up each week, probably because it's in my awareness. But what I love about your story is this clear connection between those formative years, you know, that 0 to 7 theta brainwave state, impressionable, mimicking those around you, be it your parents or the major caregivers around you, and in a way following in their footsteps, but also shining that light, man, in such a beautiful, powerful way that is impacting the world, and that's the thing which I love. The way you talk about the youth blows me away. I love that. It just resonates with me big time. And, the way that you see life, the way that you view life, right, through this, I love that, you take just as much energy as you need to get it up and running and let it go. I love that. I think it's extremely powerful. The reclaiming your health, which is on all levels, not just health, impactful, right? And, that last question from Judith about, recognizing the moment, right? And taking that action. And it was so clear that you had those two roads. And one road, we don't know, but it was pretty clear that road was going to end somewhere else, right? And you choose this road, and like discovering and paying attention to that inner guidance, that inner wisdom, and following that, even when money's being thrown at you, this is being thrown at you, and just living it, in a way that is clear, with commitment, and one phrase that the last few weeks have been resonating with me big time, because my favorite phrase is this poem by Goethe, and On Commitment it's called, but that particular part of the poem which I love so much is this one, right? So the moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. And to me that epitomizes just about everything. And for those of you who haven't heard that before, it's about the moment that you truly commit yourself to doing something, taking that action, then God moves too. And it's God not necessarily in a religious sense of God, but God in a sense of the universe conspiring to put things in your way, through which is like a door that you open to get you to the place where you need to get to. And I just see that and feel that and hear that and palpably take that from your story, which is beautiful, man. So look, in a minute I'm going to ask you, if there are any closing words or phrases or whatever comes up for you to leave people with, right? Before we do that, I just want to make sure if there's any other questions either here or there, and let me check. What we got? Dennis Love, good to see you, brother. Yeah, lots of people saying heartfelt, thank you, super cool. Jacques, brother man, has got a question. Love to hear it, brother. And remember, when you ask a question, give me time to repeat it so the people who are here and here can actually know what the question is.
So my question is, what do you think that from Bali makes a difference in environment or space, or the difference between here and you say what's more difficult in other places on the planet or whatever to create what you create here?
All right. So the question I'll paraphrase is, so Jacques asked, what makes Bali different or unique in the sense of what you want to create?
No, what it is in Bali that creates that space.
What is it in Bali that creates that space? Yeah. Okay.
So I've always experienced Bali as an amplifier. And wherever a person is at in their own life, Bali's going to present something to them for them to look exactly where they're at in their life, and the ability to make different choices. Bali just presents that to you, and it presents that way and amplifies its energies just because the dedication of the Balinese to the unseen, right? Everything we see comes from something that we don't see. Every single thing. This camera, this table, this place was once just in somebody's or a couple people's mind, right? And then brought it into manifestation. And so those same principles are 100% understood throughout this entire island. And they spend so much ritual and ceremony and dedication to make sure that energy stays in harmony. So because of that, if a person is needing space, coming to Bali's going to be like, look, you need to take some space, right? And if a person is still, again, running their programs and they're going to get hit with a situation that or move them so they can see they need to take space. Oftentimes, I call it initiation. Often people times will have a little motorbike accident. And to the degree that they get hurt is to the degree that they need to sit down and take some space. You know? So Bali is an amplifier of energy. And what is offered to it, as you know, offerings are so, you know, prominent here, what is offered to the island is going to be offered back.
But you think that's created by the people, or is it, you know, maybe it's all on the earth or volcano or whatever? What is it that Bali makes like that?
All of it. It is where it is on the earth. It's the land. It's the people. The people are just a result of the land, and it's all of it in combination. You know, and every other place has its thing, right? You know, every place. New York has its thing. Paris has its thing. San Francisco has its thing. Every place has its energy based on what vibration is happening in that land. And so Bali is such a unique point on this little blue dot floating through space, man. It's like rich in hundreds of years of understanding that there's an entire world happening right now in this place that we just don't see with our physical eyes. And if we don't become in harmony with it, then that unseen can have a negative effect on our physical life. You know, so we better know what's happening in the unseen as well, so we can harmonize as best as possible with it in order to live in a harmonious way. And that comes up in different ways in different places. But Bali, this is an amplifier for me of that.
Yeah, because I was also asking it because how you kind of explain how your rhythm is or how you find your balance. I think I see that in many Balinese people. You know, like they also have their rhythms or their patterns or the start ceremony is part of that. You know, it's like you don't let other people interrupt them in that. You know, it's like
Cool, man. That makes fun, Jacques. So anyone got any other questions or comments? All good. All right. So I'll give you that minute to think about something to close. So up until then, just so we're here, Tropical Nomad. Thanks, Itchy and Bella, wherever you are over there somewhere. They make it happen. So what I love about it is symbiotic, right? So for those of you who know, like this is number 68, 68 weeks, Speak Up Monday. And Morten, if you're watching this, a crazy Norwegian friend, which I caught life in Bali, twisting and twirling his girlfriend around past our place in Tomorrow Gallery 70 weeks ago. And I said to him during the day, I said, man, what are you doing? He goes, I'm twirling my girlfriend. I said, it's during the day. He goes, yeah, so what? So he just cracked up. And it was his idea. Rob, you're a speaker, right? I said, yeah, why aren't you doing something with speakers? I was like, that's a great idea. And that's how Speak Up Monday was formed, right? So Morten, if you're watching, thanks very much, mate. So if you're feeling a pull, if you think or feel that there's something that you would love to do, maybe be in Kamau's place, just come and have a chat. That's what this really is. It's a conversation between two people or more people, which just different insights spin off and come out as a natural consequence of the energy that's present, right? That's how it basically works. It's not rocket science, actually. And something that just popped in. The next week, we got a guy called Gil Petersil. So Gil Petersil, amazing, beautiful human being, much like you, my brother. And so Gil, I met Gil through Rhonda Swan, who's on the week after that. And Gil is a guy, he's a networker, for sure. He's a business strategist, he's a coach. He's a human being that's able to see the different skills, abilities, and talents that people have and match them together, which is a beautiful skill. And so he had a massive company, still has, that was doing all the events for Anthony Robbins and some of the top speakers in the world, which with COVID changed overnight. So he had to hard pivot and to think of and do something else. And much like another guy called Chris Robb, who he sold his first company to Iron Man, and there's another amazing guy from South Africa, he decided that I need to surrender and serve. Surrender and serve. And out of that, created another whole environment, another whole activity and situation that impacted positively the lives of thousands and millions of other people, which is masterminding for Gil. So next week is going to be on. Fascinating guy, beautiful human being. So either come in person to Tropical Nomad, 7 o'clock, come a bit earlier actually, maybe 6:45. Even 6:30 is okay too. You can be early, it's okay. And listen to him or tune in via Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. So there's that. I've already mentioned Rhonda Swan will be here the following week, which is another amazing lady, which I'll get into another time. So look, without further ado, I'm going to, in a second, I'm going to pass over to Kamau for some closing words. But just want to thank all of your studio audience for being here. Round of applause. Right? There's thousands here, thousands. So remember, you can come here, it's okay. You can come here and meet some great people in the flesh, right? And connect and cross-pollination, I love that word as well, collaboration, cross-pollination, all the C's. So feel free to come and join us or catch us on those other ways of viewing this. And just thank you to you, right, for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this, because I know that some of you will. And you'll know exactly who to share it to, because you'll have a little inner calling to say, you know what, X person needs to see this, needs to hear this, and just do it, right? Don't delay, just let it flow, right? So I'd thank you in advance for sharing it, and look forward to seeing you next week. And I'm just going to hand it over to my brother over here, and just want to acknowledge you for being you. I've loved getting to know you more than what I did before, and I can so clearly see those 4 or 5 things that followed through, and you followed them. I love the fact that you pay so much attention to whoever you're talking to. Something I've noticed about it from the very beginning, which is a beautiful thing to witness and to feel, be on the receiving end of, and it inspires me. So thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Thanks for doing this. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the space, and for bringing people in to share their stories, and for people to get to know them a bit better. So thank you for that.
Cool, my brother. Cool.
What comes to me to emphasize a little bit more is that we are all soul. At the core of it, we are all soulful beings. We all have spiritual gifts and directions and attractions and repulsions. We all have that. And the more that we can get in tune with that and what that is, the more we can start aligning ourselves with our best contribution. Right? Just to know ourselves on the deepest of levels. And life, all it is, as I've come to see it, is just a constant stream of presentations that serve as catalysts for us to get more in touch with who we truly are. Like every moment is a decision. It's like, how are we going to move? Are we going to move in alignment with who we truly are? Or are we going to play out a program in something that is not us, which has been embedded into us, because unfortunately societies, our parents, they didn't know any better, right? And so we got to figure it out, and that's our journey, and each one is unique. So I would say to everybody, take that time, that solo time. Everybody needs that solo time to really just turn the scope within and ask themselves, that ultimate question of who am I? And not that you got to answer the totality of it, because life is, even when this goes, it's still going, right? But to understand, like, in this particular moment, can I be the greatest aspect of who I am? Can I bring that forth? And if I don't know how to bring that forth, can I receive that guidance in order to bring that forth? And as everyone begins to start to do that, then it's like we multiplied our wow moments. All the wow factors that we experience in life, we just start to multiply that more, because we're just fully being ourselves in whatever moment is being presented. And we're doing our best to make the proper choice so we can expand. Not only we can expand, but whoever we're interacting with can expand as well. And in that way, life can transform and, birth new wings, and, not have to deal with the old guard who is fading out. So I would say to everybody, whatever you have to do to turn the scope in and take that time to first self-care, and that self-care is going to transform into self-love. And that self-love is going to transform into, oh shit, I am God too. Which comes into all is God, all is life, all is the one, all is soul experiencing itself in infinite ways, you know, and we are just intimately connected with that process. And in order to know that, gotta go within.
Thank you, brother.
Yo,
Thanks, man.
thank you, Rob.
What's up?
Thank you, brother. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you.